At the end of every homeschooling year, you are required by most states to set up a homeschool evaluation or some sort of testing. Well, today we're going to talk about the types of testing and evaluations that you can do in the state of Florida. Hey guys, it's Bonnie from Mrs. Mom's Homeschool and welcome to my channel. And if you're new here, I'm a homeschooling mom of 10 years and I've been creating videos to help you on your homeschooling journey. So make sure you check out all the playlists and hit the subscribe button if you like what you see. In today's video, I want to give you some answers to some questions that you may have regarding evaluations in the state of Florida. And this video is in partnership with my friend Jennifer Belknap, who is the creator of Homeschooling in the Midst of Chaos.com. She is a wonderful evaluator here in the state of Florida, and she does in-person and virtual evaluations. And if you live in the area, she will even meet you in your home in some cases. So I want to give you her information in the description below, but I also want to talk about the types of evaluations that she does, and she's the one that has answered these questions for me. So in the state of Florida, you can either do a portfolio evaluation or you can do testing. Now, you don't send the results of those tests into the state, but you do send in a letter, or your evaluator can send in a letter for you stating that a test was completed and that your child is progressing and learning. The results are for your own personal gain. You may want to do the testing just so that you know what grade level your child is in, or what weaknesses or strengths that they may have, so that you can adjust your curriculum for the following homeschool year. Now, if you have some questions about the homeschool portfolios, I have a playlist I'm going to link here that's going to give you all the videos that I already made on how to create a portfolio, my biggest tip for creating homeschool portfolios, and what is inside a homeschool portfolio. And then in the video here, you're also going to see a day in the life as we were preparing for our kids' evaluations for the end of the homeschool year. The first question is, when does a parent need to officially register their child for homeschool, and what are the steps? A child needs to be registered for homeschool with the county in the school year when they will be turning 6 by February 1st. So the first step to registering your child as a homeschooling student is to print out a form online by doing a Google search of a letter to intent to homeschool, filling it out. Then you can go to the website. If you go to the description, I'm going to post the link of how to find your school district, find out the school district, mail it to that superintendent, and then you will get a letter back from the superintendent stating that your homeschool program is going to start, and they will give you a date. And then before that date, the following homeschool year, you are going to make sure you have your evaluations completed and submitted to the superintendent back to the state. What kind of tests can you do? What do they test for, and how much do they cost? So I'm gonna have to go over to my laptop here and share with you that information because it's too much for me to memorize. Okay, so if you're going with Jennifer Belknap, she does portfolio evaluations for $35 virtually and $60 in person with multiple child discounts. She can also do the RAT-5, which is the Wild Range Achievement Test, which measures basic academic skills of reading, spelling, and math. And this test takes less than an hour and can be administered for age grades K through 12. The cost for this test is $60 for in-person and $50 for virtual. I did the RAT-5 for my upcoming second grader. And then she also does the Woodcock-Johnson 4, which, if you want to look at the results from these types of tests, make sure you check out the video where I do a day in the life preparing, because I also share the evaluation results at the end of the video, just so you guys can see how it's scored and what they score for and how they do the grading and all that. So this test, the Woodcock-Johnson 4, finds strengths and weaknesses within and among measures of the academic performance, oral language competence, and cognitive abilities, and it tests for the following: letter word identification, applied problems, spelling, passage comprehension, calculation, word attack, oral reading, sentence reading fluency, math facts fluency, sentence writing fluency, reading recall, editing, word reading fluency, spelling, sounds, reading vocabulary synonyms, reading vocabulary antonyms. And then if you, I think it's like $10 extra. Yeah, it says you can purchase the first 10 tests. I should have read you those first, but the first 10 if you count those, and then you can add any additional tests for $10. So this test takes 1 to 3 hours, and it's $85 a person for in-person, and then $75 for virtual. For the first 10 tests, $170 for the complete battery for an in-person test, and $150 virtually. So you can also add science, social studies, and humanities to that test. And that's the test that I did with my son, but we only did the first 10 tests. But I think I might do some added tests like the science, social studies, and humanities, so I can see how behind I am in social studies and what I need to catch up with. Next question is, do homeschoolers have to take standardized tests in Florida? And the simple answer to that is no. The next question I had for Jennifer was, what do you look for as an evaluator? What kinds of questions do you ask parents and children? And should they be preparing in advance? And her answer was, I only have to see the student is making progress. The portfolio should include work samples, reading log, and activity log, and it should be kept for 2 years. For the conversation, I asked their favorite and least favorite subjects, their favorite book, and what they like to do on their free time. And then she answers any questions that the parents may have. What if a parent decides to have a standardized test, but some subjects weren't covered yet by the family? So her answer was, the law doesn't specify which subjects have to be tested to some families. So some families opt to not take all the sections on a standardized test. Also, let's say this always happens to us every homeschool year where we are not done our math. It's mostly the math. We're not done our math for the year before my kids take their test. And then they're tested on math, and they will have learned that math like at the end of the month when, you know. So what I try to do is finish in time so that they've learned everything they're supposed to learn for that year, so we get a better assessment and a better, you know, like overall picture of what grade level they're actually on. But if there's like, if I have that due date for the state, and then let's say it's June 20th, and I know we're not going to be done math until July 4th, then I just have to, I can either skim through those topics and, you know, briefly introduce them to my child, or I can just let him take the test knowing that, okay, this is not going to be completely accurate because I know that you didn't learn these topics yet. And then next year, because this happened to be this year, so he tested on grade level for his math, but everything that he was going to learn at the end of this year, he just didn't learn it before the time it was to take the test. So next year I'm going to try harder on having him be done before the evaluation so that I can get a more accurate picture. My next question to Jennifer was, do you ever decide if someone cannot pass an evaluation? And her answer was, if students have not completed any work throughout the year, then they would fail the evaluation, and this does happen occasionally. Next question, if you have someone who is unschooled, what kinds of things can they show? And she says that unschoolers send pictures of learning from throughout the year. And the last question is if a family is just homeschooling for a year or a short time with the intentions of putting a child back in school, are there any assessments or specific evaluations needed for that? What is the process for putting a child back in school after homeschooling? So if a student is going back to school or there isn't any specific requirements, they just need to complete a portfolio evaluation or testing before they go back to school. Now, speaking from experience, what I did when my daughter went back to school, my oldest daughter, I wanted to make sure that she knew everything that she was gonna need to know for the grade that was just completed. So for her, she was going to school in 7th grade. Excuse my dryer singing right now. I skimmed through all the topics in math that she was gonna need for 7th grade to make sure that she understood everything. We did Khan Academy. We had to put a rush on it because there was a lot, we were behind. And she really wanted a child school for 7th grade. So we did that, and then we did the end of the year evaluation. Everything turned out well. And then when she tested into her school, when she had to do the testing, she was actually above, a whole year above in math, which I was surprised about, but it was awesome. Now, the only step that you have to do is after evaluation, you have to submit to the state a letter of termination to homeschool. So I'll also put that link in the description below. So this is you terminating your homeschool, and then you can go ahead and register back with the school, register your child for school. Now, some schools may have their own requirements, so you want to check. So when she was going back, she went into a charter school, and they wanted to see those test results. And luckily enough, I had test results. I had done the testing for her 2 years in a row, which normally I just do a portfolio evaluation, but this year I had done testing. So if you know that your child is going to go back to school and you know in advance, try to make sure that your evaluations are going to be tests so that you have that to show to the schools in case they need it. And if you don't, then they'll just have to deal with whatever it is that you have for them. You can probably just show them the portfolio if they want to, depending if it's a private school or charter school. Public schools don't really seem to care. I hope that we were able to answer a lot of your questions for the evaluations. I know this is a little late. I know a lot of you guys have already done your evaluations, but if you haven't, then you can definitely use this for the next year to remind you of what needs to get done. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.